Hi, and welcome to another episode of Wine and Wisdom. I'm Thomas Le Hoang, and you're listening to the TL podcast, where knowledge is shared and no one takes themselves too seriously.
How's everyone going?
Excellent, mate.
Hey.
A bit quiet today. What's going on?
Hi everyone, how are you? Good. It's good to see you. Good to be back. Just great.
I know. Gee, so what's the news this week?
What about Ash Barty retiring? Wow. Who would have thought?
Now, I got a question about that immediately, and I don't know if I'm sexist or I don't know. Immediately, I think she's going to have kids. She's going to have a family. That's why she's retired. She wants to settle down. And I looked it up, and she's worth like $50 million anyway. I don't know. Am I the only one? Am I wrong in thinking that way? Because that was where my head went straight away.
Her husband's about to make the PGA tour for the first time, mate. I think the last thing on his mind is having babies.
Mm.
Well, he can swing his club in the bedroom and the golf course.
So
you reckon he's hit a hole in one, mate, is what you're saying?
No, but I heard on the news this morning that someone suspected that might be where she's going. I mean, she's nailed cricket, she's nailed tennis. The next thing that is on her cards,
she has a baby, she's going to be nailed.
Geez, it'd be good to be born talented, wouldn't it?
I know, wouldn't it?
That was last week, brother.
When you can just quit as the number one tennis player and become the number one cricketer or the number one golfer. That'd be a horrible life that we live in.
But yeah,
I think it's outstanding. What a
way to go, eh?
No, just what a way to buck the trend and not be socially conditioned and do what you want to do, be what you want to be. Yeah, like she's given up hundreds of millions of dollars, not tens of millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars, because she would have been at the top of tennis for the next 5 years, probably.
Yeah.
And who knows what she's going to do next? And we're all just guessing.
Yeah.
I haven't, in answer to your question, Chris, no, I didn't even give it a thought what she was going to do next. I was just a bit blown away by how brave she was to ignore what probably everyone else would be thinking. And it'll probably tie into the topic we're doing today, but I'm sure there's a lot of people thinking she's being an idiot and not telling her that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, crazy. And that was my...
So when it was announced, it was a lot like you, Kim. I thought to myself, man, there's a lot of money for her to still be made, right? But to be standing there, stepping out at the top of your game, well, there's an old saying I think I heard from Thomas was, quit when the things are going good, don't quit when things are going bad. She's walked away at the pinnacle of her career. And
she had another 5 years of good, though.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is it because she achieved her dreams? Do you think maybe she achieved the goal she set herself? I want to get here. Once I get here, now I just want to go somewhere else. She used this excuse physically she couldn't do it anymore or something along those lines. I don't know if she
physically and spiritually she wasn't as keen as she once was. But okay. I'll tell you what will make you harder to get off the couch every morning: $50 million.
Yeah.
If I was sleeping on a pillow that had $50 million under it, I'd be staying in bed too. I think she'll be okay.
Yeah, I think so, mate.
I think she'll be okay. And I just think it's a great example for. I haven't worked out how to frame it for the kids yet, but I just think it's a great example for everyone. Be happy in life. Don't be beholden to. That's a chain around her ankle, and people stay number one for 10 years if they're good enough, just because they're number one. But why? If there's other shit you'd rather be doing and you got the money in the bank, why not?
Exactly.
Do what makes you happy and not, conform to social requirements, social expectations. Absolutely.
Much easier to make that decision. Again, much easier to make that decision with $50 million
in the bank.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Not the bank. The other thing I wanted to ask you guys, this bloody fight between Sonny Bill Williams and Barry Hall.
Hang on, let Thomas talk about Ash Barty for a second.
Sorry, he doesn't speak.
No, he sits back and listens so he can pull our arguments apart.
Because you guys have said it all. I think that what was funny is how much the world's talking about it, and it's almost like our life our life, because it's not that interesting, maybe revolves around what other people do.
Yeah.
And I heard yesterday people getting shocked. I received messages instantly when it happened. It's like, hold on, it's okay. Everyone's got the right to decide how to live their life, and she's doing a very, very good thing. Quit while you're on top.
I think we live vicariously through sport, a lot of us, right? And we've been through a tough time, and generally in Aussie sport, we finally found someone finally turned up who was doing something, one, that hadn't been done or for 40 years in Australia. Two, was a female, which was different, and I don't mean that in a sexist way. It's just not what we're used to. And three, wasn't a dickhead. So
yeah, she was very graceful with the way she did it. Absolutely.
People had only just jumped into the party, and then she said, "Closing time. Time for you to go out."
Well, what's the next one? What's the next topic? What happened these last 7 days?
The Barry Hall fight. I just want to know. We're going to speak about this topic soon, but man, the guy's 45, and he's boxing a bloke that's 36, and he got absolutely owned. I mean, Cam, you know more about this than I do. Is there not
money?
Is it all cash? Is there not requirements to be able to step in toe to toe with each other at all? Or
he can fight. So Barry Hall, when he was 17, was a Golden Gloves champion of Victoria.
Right.
And in he's only had one pro fight earlier, but he had a draw with Paul Gallen. A draw. It was controversial draw, but Paul Gallen's gone on to bash everyone except the best of the best. So, and he's fit as, just look at the rig on him.
Yeah.
And I guess, I don't know. We don't know because we've never been there, but he was at the absolute top of AFL. And then you hear a lot from the great sports people when they're no longer doing that sport, they find struggle for meaning, right? The struggle for relevance, and a lot of them go off the rails because of it. So he's done a couple of reality TV shows. He's now had a couple of boxing fights. He's a 45-year-old bloke who knows his body's probably not going to hold out for much longer. Let's make as much of this as we can off it and see what happens. Now, no one, I have seen before, and especially in fighting, regardless of what genre, people just take the pay packet and basically get hit and fall over. And it was clear. I don't think he's happy that he got the shit punched out of him in round one. I think his disappointment was real, which isn't always the case.
What they get paid? Do you know what they got paid?
I don't know. It was the first event that Stan's put on as a channel, so there was probably a bit in it for him. But I know blokes, especially boxing's renowned for it, which is why the UFC's become so popular, because the UFC won't do that. They'll never put an exhibition fight on as such, just for numbers. There's always real fighters against real fighters. Boxing lost a lot of traction because of the bullshit. You'd have a bloke who's won 50 fights fighting a bloke who's never won a fight.
Yeah.
And they continue to do that stuff. But I think again, we talk about Ash Barty retiring and people going shocked. I think it's more silly on us that we'd pay, I don't know how much they charge, but normally a pay-per-view is $50 to watch an ex-rugby union player and an ex-AFL player who's 45 years old
bash each other.
Try and bet. Like, what are we doing? It doesn't interest me at all, that stuff. And that's, as an ex-footy player and someone who tries to do a bit of boxing and whatever, it just doesn't interest me, because that's always going to happen. Sonny Bill Williams would be an interesting study. I know we've, in the past, we've studied people on the podcast. He would be a really interesting study. He's converted Muslim, and he's played the highest level of rugby league, the highest level of rugby union, and like for the All Blacks, who we all admire. He was part of that. And he's now a boxer, and he's also a mentor to wayward football players. And he was a bloke who he's most famous for getting caught in a toilet with Candace, now Warner, David Warner's wife, back in when he was this 18-year-old footy player, So he would be a really interesting study, Sonny Bill Williams, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, he got his head knocked in. So.
What about the Brian Houston saga?
I only read a headline, mate. I didn't read into it. I saw he quit, and I thought good riddance. But so I'm only going to have a guess. Is he trying to dodge some salacious rumours or accusations, and that's why he resigned? TL?
I think
I don't know. First there was his father, and now it's him. They're really trying to distance themselves, but
I'm sure they'll be okay too, much like Ash Barty. I'm sure they'll
with their millions. Yeah.
they'll go, well, I think billions in that church, mate. Jesus.
Yeah. I know. I read a little bit into it, and apparently there was a texting saga back and forth between a few females, which sort of got out there, and a drunken episode from him that was caught on camera. And I don't know. I guess you can't do those things in that position. I don't know, but it's not a good look.
And what about the war? The Ukraine war is gone a little bit on the second row this week.
Yeah, I think that's actually the headline out of it. I had to go searching more than just open my phone to see some news on it. Everyone's bored of it now. It's not over and no one's won. So, okay, we're just going to move on to the next thing. Gee, isn't the news cycle a horrible thing? But in the last week, they've bombed schools and maternity wards, and it's gotten so much worse over there as far as from a humanitarian standpoint. From the reports I'm reading, whether they're true or not, you never know. But the fact that because it's been a week and we need to move on to something else, it's pretty sad. I know the US has now publicly condemned them for war crimes, which is a big political issue. I saw today that Vladimir still thinks he's going to turn up to the G20 summit next week or the week after, and that's a talking point. And China's sort of, everyone's saying no, but China's saying yes, so that'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But I just think it's sad that it's already back of mind. We're average.
I find it's going into the next phase though, which is now it's stalling. I think that Putin's starting to have a bit of a rebellion, within his own ranks. Things could actually turn unless he does something really
drastic.
Yeah, drastic. And the other thing that I really learned from what's happened. I mean, again, I don't know who's what because we haven't studied all this stuff. But the one thing I know is that a country like Ukraine, they have their president making a stand. When the leader makes a stand, it's amazing what the rest of the country will do and follow. It's if he had, for example, stepped on a plane or a helicopter and flown away, I don't think that this kind of thing would be happening the way it's happened. But for him to stay back and apparently to have survived some of these killing that's been thrown at him, it's just amazing of a leader leading by example,
Oh yeah, the thing that I looked into was his approval rating when he went into his position was something around 61% or something, and recently before the war it dropped as low as 31%. But since the war and where he stepped up, and they reckon it's to do with the things that he says in his speeches, but you'll notice in his speeches and when he gets on to make a statement, he's just wearing an average t-shirt like the average citizen, and so they reckon these things have really changed. His approval rating now is something like 95%. So he went from looking likely to be pushed out of that position to no chance now. Like the people really respect him.
That might have something to do with no one else wanting that position at the moment.
Possibly.
They're not the Labor Party's not fighting to win government just at the moment. I think something I picked up in an article only today, which I thought I was pretty smart, but clearly not. We all sort of a bit shocked that Russia wasn't, or the world is shocked that Russia hasn't demolished them. What we all forget is Ukraine's been preparing for it for 8 years.
Yeah.
They've thought at least that they've known the threat of Russia doing something to them since they took Crimea is very, very real. So it's not like they woke up one day and went, shit, how are we going to defend this? They've had the plan in place for
years,
8 years of preparation. So it's no wonder that they're able to do it under man and under strength. And I saw today that Russia's pulled back now. Instead of encircling the Kiev, they're 20 Ks out. They're trying to regroup, and it is. If you can take the ghastliness out of it of war, it's again. I said Sonny Williams would be an interesting study. What the mechanics of a war is, I find fascinating. Which is, and I think we all do. It's why the docos rate so high on Netflix and all that sort of stuff, because
very strategic, mate. Very strategic. I don't think Russia realised how much of a resistance they were going to meet, and I think Putin didn't realise this war was going to go on as long as it has. And I don't think they were prepared to be in the trenches 28, 29 days later. I think, and like you said, with 8 years of being ready, I think the fight that's in the Ukraine soldier is a lot.
Yeah.
You know, the passion there for their country is a lot greater than the Russian soldiers.
But not even just the Ukrainians, Chris. It's the everyday citizens of other countries. Like
absolutely, the world.
Going to help. They're going to help.
Yeah, like there was American soldiers, Australians, which apparently that's a law in Australia that you can't go and do that, and that was started because of the ISIS thing. Like you couldn't go and start fighting in Afghanistan or whatever because of ISIS. But there's Australians that have illegally gone there to fight.
I reckon they'd be on both sides, mate. Let's not kid ourselves. There's people out there who live for this shit, right? And that's why they'll go over to Iraq and Iran. And we got communists in this country, man. We got to.
But the thing is the thing that I was watching with these everyday citizens of other countries are joining up. They were joining to the tune of 100 to 200 people a day into these voluntary forces, I suppose, which God. A lot.
They've probably been locked in a 2-bedroom unit during lockdown with their whole family and just like, Jesus Christ.
Or maybe they're upsizing their house and arguing about selling or keeping or buying.
God, mate.
You know, it's one thing for sure.
Thanks for that bus you just put me under, son. That's good. I can hear it playing out in the kitchen, so thank you.
It's affecting the world. It's affecting everyone.
Can we talk about wine?
Is it affecting the wine supply?
No, but hey, listen, it's affecting the world. So
now I'm getting yelled at from the kitchen.
It's something that's going to get worse if it keeps on going like this, because prices are going up everywhere. There's countries that can't even afford the bread now, especially when they can't get the wheat coming from Ukraine, you know. Anyway, let's get on to the wine this week. Start first with Louise.
I knew you were going to say me. Okay, guys.
L for last.
L for luck.
Lovely.
Yeah, lovely. Exactly. Thanks, Chris, my buddy. So what we have is a Sauvignon Blanc 2021, Cloudy Bay, New Zealand. My strategy today.
What are we doing?
My strategy today
is to lose.
I said to Thomas during the week, you guys are so much more fortunate than me because I have very limited.
Is it because you're a woman? We've tried that card, Lou.
I never said woman. I'm talking about Paul Macquarie. You don't have many options.
We had this conversation. Sorry, darling, I'm not going to let you spin this bullshit.
No,
a true friend, right? We had this conversation. We had this conversation in Merrill, where it was our conference, wherever it was. And you go, how do you get the wine? You said, listen, Dan Murphy's, you can jump on, you have Dan Murphy's open, you have Vivino open, you find the wine, you scan it, you can get it shipped to your house. I don't care if you live on freaking Bribey Island in Queensland, you can get a good wine shipped to your address.
Mate, I got you. I got you your wine. And how long did it take for the wine I bought you to turn up?
Don't know. When did you send it? You said apparently
3 days.
24 days.
No excuse. That's just rubbish.
You know what? You'd be surprised to know that it rates quite well with 885 ratings.
You can
go
$20
from Liquorland.
Majority of the vineyards will say
this cost me $58, and that's another thing in Port Macquarie. Everything's twice the price. Anyways,
how much you paying for petrol? How much you paying for petrol?
I filled my car up during the week. It was $198.
So, what's that a litre, darling? I don't know how many.
That's her private jet.
No, it's diesel, and it is 90 litres.
So your petrol's more expensive than the wine you're drinking. Stop complaining.
All right, Chris, your wine.
I've got a Geoff Merrill. Now,
you're half drunk by the looks.
Now, we have had this on the podcast before. However, they have 2 Cab Savs. They have the one from Coonawarra, and then they have the one from McLaren Vale and Coonawarra, where they do a combined grape, and that's that one. We had the other one before. So it's a 2013 G&W Cab Sav. So, as I said, from McLaren Vale and the Coonawarra region, and I'm looking forward to this. I reckon it's going to be a great drop.
G&W?
Good wine.
Oh.
It's probably it's like a bit like the GSM, probably Grenache, Mourvèdre, and then you have to find what the W stands for.
Okay.
Maybe one of someone else can help us. What about you, Cam?
Torbreck, Eden Valley, 2018. The Gask. It's a Shiraz. It's even got a special lid. It was corked. It was about $85 this bottle. So another South Australian red, rated reasonably high on Vivino. There's no real special story behind it. The name, the Gask, comes after a mountain that's down in the winery. Thomas is going to try and tell you I'm disqualified because I didn't get it in by lunchtime. I got it in yesterday afternoon, and that's, we'll have to decide. But I think after Lou's horrible showing, I can already tell that's about a 2.1. There's no...
Get out. What did yours rate on Vivino?
A lot.
A lot. But hold on, that is something we're going to talk, because the friend thing is...
But rather than you throw me under the bus, I'll throw myself under the bus. Because if you all didn't have it in by 12 p.m, you got no right to bloody talk to me. That's all.
Mine goes
I had,
in.
I had a call yesterday afternoon, someone going, did you get your bottle in?
Ah,
But I said, that was yesterday afternoon.
Well, when we spoke yesterday, he was morally conflicted about what should I do here?
Absolutely, that's why I needed to have a look.
And then we get on the camera.
Another person who's just forgotten.
We get on 5 minutes before the podcast, and he made it very clear that he resolved his moral conflict, and it wasn't in my favour. So I'll beat him to the punch. I got in yesterday. It was yesterday afternoon. Some of us work for a living, mate. That's all I can say.
Anyway, so we can talk about it, but at first it's my wine now, the Plantagenet 2012 Cab Sauv from Western Australia, Mount Barker.
Plantagenet.
Plantagenet, yeah.
Mount Barker, did they tell you it was full and you couldn't drink it anymore? After
it's south of Perth. It's actually a house that's about 52 years old. So it's had a bit of story, right? Now let's get back onto the wine and the subject. And the subject's simple: is a friend that doesn't tell you when you're wrong really a friend?
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Wait, guys, wait.
Come on, man.
You didn't open it again.
Open your bloody wine, will you?
Oh, mine's been airing for about 25 minutes. It is.
Smells delicious.
Smells like a 2.3 from here, Lou.
Oh, get it out. Well, as I said to Thomas yesterday, it might not rate high, but all I need is one of the other guys to stuff up and it won't matter.
Cheers.
All right. So.
Oh, wowee. Well, let's start how we started last week. First, it's a one-word answer, yes or no. Is a friend who doesn't tell you when you're wrong really a friend? Yes or no, Chris?
No.
Yes or no, Lou?
No.
Oh, that's a problem. No.
Well, you know, all right, I'll have to go yes then, huh?
Do you want someone on the same side as the fence? I don't really have any arguments for yes. So.
Well,
I'll have to go for the yes this week, guys. All right, well then, let's go about this. I'm going to have to change a few of my things yesterday.
What do you truly believe, though? So you truly believe it's a no? It's for the sake of the argument.
Yesterday, I was thrown with a dilemma with Cameron not getting his wine in time, and he was asking me not to tell anyone.
Oh, bullshit. Don't lie. A friend who lies to get you in trouble, really a friend.
So
That's the answer. That is no.
I was confused because one of the first things I did is I didn't call Lou, and then I called Chris because I wanted to find out that one more person stuffed it up so that I could take the easy way out, which is, well, 50% stuffed it up. Those two guys will now have to fight one more round. But then I was being a friend to Cameron, and I thought, I'm not going to tell him that he's wrong, because as a friend, I'm more worried about the way he feels, especially he's going through a lot of stress for the moment. And then suddenly we start the podcast. He just has to just put himself in. I didn't have to do anything.
I'm honest.
So I think that no, sometime as a friend, you know that your friend's doing something wrong, but you have to look at the circumstance and refrain from telling him, because sometimes he doesn't get it. He doesn't get it that the only person that you're lying to, or when you're doing wrong, you're hurting is yourself.
Mm.
You may hurt somebody else temporarily, so just for 5 minutes, maybe for an hour, maybe for a day, but for the rest of your life, you know that you have lied, that you've done the wrong thing.
Mm.
That's it. That's about my argument for a
I wanted to see how long you could
He's
carry
had
that
to
on,
pivot.
mate.
He's had to pivot hard. So
Yeah.
I have to say, Louise, I'm extraordinarily surprised by your answer.
In terms of what? No.
No, you love people telling you you're right, even when. No, I had a line. I thought the only example I needed is anyone who, after last week's podcast, said you were right. Clearly not a friend. So I'm shocked by your answer, actually, and I mean that sincerely. I thought, sure, you could still, Lou will find a way where you can still be a friend by not telling someone what you're really thinking.
All right, everything that I've written has to go in the bin. But now let's have a look at this. A very good friend of yours has got cancer. He believes that if he's going to go out there and look at the sun 5 minutes a day, he's going to be cured.
Wrong.
Now, are you going to tell him that he's wrong?
Yeah. 100%.
Mm.
Not for any other reason than he needs to make sure he enjoys the rest of his life, not sitting there staring at the sun, which is not only going to not fix his cancer, it's probably going to hurt his eyes.
He's that certain that that's going to save him. Are you really going to tell him that he's wrong?
Yep.
Mm.
Doesn't mean he'll listen.
Yeah. I guess.
I mean, there's extremes to this conversation. I mean, the everyday things that, we often think Cam's wrong about the shit that he says, but we don't have to pick him up every time. We'd be interrupting him every time he opened his mouth. So it's not gonna, you're not gonna pick everyone up all the time, but there's things that you need to step in.
Mm.
If, for the example that you gave, someone who's just drinking to excess and destroying their whatever it may be, there's so many different things, but some of these lessons, they need to be learnt as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
And some lessons, the best lessons are learnt the hard way. So there has to be a time where you let your friend or whatever, maybe get to a point where they're learning the lesson.
Yeah.
One of the arguments I thought Louise was going to come up with, but she's picked the wrong answer to say I've got to rewrite everything I thought, was that
Hilarious. Go.
just because you think someone's doing something wrong doesn't mean you're right.
Yeah.
So that's that. I mean, we can all have an opinion. Maybe staring at the sun will fix the cancer. You don't know, but
Yeah.
so that's where I thought the question was going to get more murky, because what we think someone's behaviour should be, for example, I look at it in a behavioural sense. What we think someone's behaviour should be, or what I think someone's behaviour should be, is going to be different to what Chris thinks and what Thomas thinks and what Louise thinks. So
I think that this is where you guys are maybe too black and white, because I've been in a corridor with 6 people having leukemia, and having to sit there and listen to them and having discussion with them. Sometimes I knew some of the stuff they were saying is wrong, and I had to introduce some of my ideas. But as Cam said earlier, how do I know that my reality is right?
Yeah.
Number 2, who am I to deflate them from that one potential thing that might, let's forget that sun, all right? I have a friend of mine who's got cancer, and he's going through for the moment some trial therapy. Do you know how before they make it real, they try on 1,000 people, 2,000 people.
Yeah.
So let's imagine I'm listening to this guy and I'm going, no, that's totally wrong. Who am I to go and tell him, mate, what you're doing is wrong. You need to go back to radiation. You need to go back to all this chemotherapy. Who am I to say that?
a friend.
Yeah.
And to use your example of the leukemia ward, Thomas, how many of those 6 people were you friends with or supposed friends with? The question is if you're a friend. Right? So we're talking about more than just a passing relationship, or more than just sticking in someone's room, and more than just overhearing a conversation you don't agree with.
Okay, let's get on to this thing here, and then let me ask you, because obviously I'm not born here, so for me the differentiation is very difficult. So how do you rank friends? Is a mate better than a friend?
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
is there a ranking in friendship now? Do we
Well,
have
there's a definite difference between
Mate.
someone you're visiting in the cancer ward versus the other 10 people that are in the cancer ward. That's, I mean, that's an easy, when you're talking about someone, you use words like acquaintance, associate, friend, or mate. And I think in my hierarchy, if I say I've got a mate who, right, that is more powerful than I've got a friend who, or I've got an associate who, or this guy I know. So
Or a colleague.
mate for me, and then above mate for me is brother, and then or sister or family, and that's not, doesn't have to be. I mean, that's, I call Thomas brother all the time. I call Chris dickhead all the time. You can see where he rates on my
Yeah.
So I would say if we changed it for Thomas's benefit, so he can comprehend better, if we change the word friend in the question to mate, because that's what I'm talking about. That's what, when I thought of the question, that's what I had in mind. I didn't have people whose, I mean, we're supposed to care about every human being, but let's be honest, there's some people whose life path doesn't interest me, or where they go and what the decisions they make doesn't play. But you know, I consider, in that sense, I consider staff members mates. If I saw a staff member making a decision that I thought was detrimental to their life, I don't think I'd feel right sitting there and saying nothing and waiting for what I think the consequences are going to be to unfold.
Yeah, and I think the difference is too, like if you look at an example of if one of us was doing something that was clearly wrong, I don't think there's anyone here that would not say to that person, hey, that was wrong, or you did wrong, or whatever. But how many people do we see in our lives every day that are doing things wrong? You know, like, for example, drug addicts and people that you see treating their kids a certain way. We never go over and say, we look at it and go, that's wrong, but we would never walk up and say, hey, that's wrong. I guess the thing is, if they are a friend or a mate, a colleague or an acquaintance or someone that you're close to, like I give you an example today when I was talking to one of the girls about it. She said, my friend got a letter from her employee, which sort of said, similar to what we would give a staff member, a warning letter. Hey, listen, you know, you haven't stepped up, you know, you didn't make your base last quarter, etc. You know, you really need to smarten your act. Well, she said to me, well, the hard part for me is I know that what they said in that letter is right and that the employer is right for saying it. My problem is if I tell her that I agree with that and I'm telling her that she's wrong because she's saying, well, I'm not that and I don't do that and whatever else, the conflict that it creates. I said, but you still got to tell her your opinion and that you think it is wrong, and you've got to frame it in a way that she doesn't take it personally or feel as though she's being attacked, I suppose. You've got to look at the issue at hand and try not to attack her character, I suppose, which is a fine line.
I'm going to dig myself a hole, but so be it, because
Really?
And I'm not so much here talking about serious stuff, but in everyday life and day-to-day life, I think women are so much worse at blowing smoke up each other's backsides instead of being honest than men. Like, yeah, and on a really trivial level, someone comes in, they've just spent $300 on a haircut and it is rubbish. Someone's completely stuffed their hair and they walk in and go, oh, I think she bugging my hair. What am I going? Oh, no, babe, you look wonderful. Don't worry about it. You're good. You're this, you're that. Now, that might be the most trivial of things, or not to a lady who's just spent $300 on a haircut. You can take that all the way to the nth degree, but I've been around enough groups of women to hear the bitching behind backs and the lack of stabbing someone in the gut to know. And guys, the reason guys get into more fights is generally guys are more upfront with each other, and then someone doesn't like it as much as the other.
And they have less language.
Sorry?
And they have less language. Therefore, they have to get to resort to physical things faster. Yeah.
I've lost two really, really good friendships over them actually telling me, because I didn't realise until many years later that they actually were my friends, and that's why they were telling me what I was doing was wrong, and they were both different situations, and I didn't take it well, and I felt betrayed, and I basically killed those friendships on the spot until years later, and I'm now back talking to both people, but the relationship's nowhere near what it was. But it took me to do a lot of growing up to realise that the only reason they were able to say that what they said to me was because they were actually my friends and not some blowhard in the street. We can take, I just think in every day, and one of my many quality personality traits is that I tell people what they think, which is why I don't have a large circle of people, because most people can't handle hearing what you think. Most people don't like being told that they're doing something wrong or could be doing something better. But I don't know how you got a friend who's drinking himself to death, Thomas, or treating his wife like crap, or carrying on in social situations a way he shouldn't be social situation. And now that you've jumped to the other side of the fence, Thomas, you're going to say, no, we're just going to keep enabling this guy by not telling him that what he's doing is killing himself and other people. So how do you explain that, big guy?
No, I think that there's a limit. If it gets to a level where it's harming someone, what do? You don't. But as I said to you, in my book, The Power of You, I do write it, that sometimes it is okay to just lie. Sometimes it is okay to do the wrong thing by just lying to someone. When someone's got like 80% of dying from cancer, it's okay to just tell them, hey, listen, mate, don't worry about the 80%, focus on 20%. And, and for you to buy into that wrong, rather than telling them, maybe you have to look at the circumstance. I believe that, yes, in most of the circumstances, what the three of you guys are saying is right. I think that it's, when we look at life and death situation, we gotta have to now look into the gray areas. And then I truly believe that, I think it was Matthew McKay who said that the human species is the only species that can actually create an entire logic about what needs to be done and then do the opposite. And what I'm trying to say is, a lot of people probably will agree with you guys that a friend who doesn't tell you that when you're doing something wrong is not a friend. Well, but they still will be bystanders with most of their friends. You know how many friends really tell you the truth? Yeah. And yet I guarantee you they will tell you, when a friend is doing the wrong thing, I will tell him. And most people would say, like a leader, for example, he starts a business, he goes out there and then he does small, and he doesn't listen to the picture of 4 and then may drive and the whole lot. And do you know how many people tell him, it's okay, man, it'll get there, start with what you have, and then when it starts rolling, those people are not telling him.
That's where I was hoping this podcast to go, and I thought it was going to be uncomfortable for a lot of people, because association, we've talked about that before too, is how important that is. Everyone is happy being patted on the back. I've used a line before where everyone prefers a pat on the back to a punch in the face. Right? We're all guilty of it. There's very few people who put their hand up and say, I actually prefer a punch in the face. Barry Hall, maybe. Right? But the uncomfortable truth for people is the majority of us are most likely surrounded by people who aren't our mates, aren't our friends at all. Yeah. They're just passengers who have found a common interest, which is probably mediocrity. And you can sit down the pub and drink 20 schooners with them, and they're the boys and they're my boys. They're only there because you'll sit there and drink 20 schooners with them and make them feel all right for drinking 20 schooners. And it's a really uncomfortable truth. That's why kind of disappointed we're all on the same side here, because people need to wake up to it. People need to realise they're surrounded by people aren't helping them. Oh, yes, it feels good. Yes, a cuddle. Of course a cuddle feels good. I love it. I love it. And occasionally I'll go to the pub to get my fix of people who are just happy that you'll sit there and drink 10 schooners on. But I also know that when the shit goes down, these people aren't going to be there with me.
Yes.
They don't care what happens when I leave the pub, whether I'm doing right by my family or wrong by my family. They don't care if I'm waking up for work the next day. They don't really care. But it's the same thing as someone 500. I've got 500 friends on Facebook. Do you?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it applies to every situation differently and every circumstance differently. I think the problem is with a lot of people is when you can see that somebody's doing wrong, when you've got to try and tell them that or correct them in that, it makes you feel uncomfortable. And a lot of people, if they're not really a close friend, a lot of people have a problem with the discomfort that it creates. And so they would choose to say nothing than anything.
That makes you not a friend, I believe. That the question is someone who won't say something really a friend?
And that's exactly my point. I think I wouldn't have a problem saying anything to one of my friends or someone I considered close if I thought they were doing wrong. But I guess there's people that you can, as I said already, there's things that are happening out there that you see are wrong, but you don't say anything. And is that right or wrong? You know, I guess that's the other thing. And we've spoken about Ash Barty. How many people would be saying she's making the wrong decision? You know, like how many people would she have around her right now saying she's making the wrong decision? But I guess they're looking at it through their lens of their perception of how they see the situation. They're not her in her shoes living her life.
There'd be managers and people making money off her who would be doing everything possible to try and stop her.
Exactly.
There's people on the other end of the spectrum too who do the exact opposite for the same attention. I believe they call them Karens now. You shouldn't park there, and you left your bin to here, and you can't walk around. Like there's people who will tell everyone exactly what they're thinking all the time just for that's their way of creating attention.
But I'm going to ask you the question. The three of you said no. And yet, if you went back this last month, how many people did you tell the truth to? How many people did you sit down with and said, you're doing the wrong thing, man, and here's why you're doing the wrong thing, or you didn't say? I mean, that's when you know whether we have integrity. The integrity is to believe in what we do. And I believe that sometimes to be a friend is to shut up. Because your mate might not be at the growth level that he's at, and you have to allow him to grow there. And
yeah, but then he drives, and I'm going to use it, I'm only using it as an analogy, he drives himself into a wall, and then you're sitting back going, oh, maybe I should have said something.
But I think
you've got to throw it out there. You've got to throw it out there. The answer to your question is anyone who's in my tight circle knows exactly what I'm thinking at any given time. Everyone. And Chris, you know this, and Thomas, you know this, and now Louise, you know this. Like I can actually put my hand up, and anyone I haven't
still don't know, because you
got involved with,
you say you're like
they're not a friend of mine.
Behind me, you say something else, man. That's not true.
Fuck off.
But,
You know, guys, I think
fire up. I think you got.
I got the first swear out of him this week.
No, because there's something I take very seriously, right?
All right. But listen, Cam, sometimes you see me doing the wrong thing because I'm not privy to doing the right thing all the time. And you don't say it.
No, because but here's the thing, right?
He's a friend that doesn't tell you.
No, here's the thing. In some instances, like if let's take our business partnership, for example. Okay, you've got 30 years more experience. You are the one who trains me how to sell. So in some instances, I don't think there's a right there for me to say, I think you're doing it wrong, because you are the teacher and I am the student. But there has been times where I've said to you, I think you're doing this wrong, or we are doing this wrong, or I disagree with what you're saying. So
yeah, I know I'm still.
But part of that's not a mateship thing. That's a respect thing, and that's I'm here to learn type deal.
No, this is why I say I think that you guys have got an integrity issue. You all
Yesterday we had a conversation. Listen, yesterday we had a conversation about someone wanting to change rules because of the unavailability of certain products in their area, and we couldn't use the internet. And I said to you, that's bullshit. I said, because I can jump on 3 or 4 different websites and buy the product to my house. I said it to your face. I said, I think you're wrong.
Yeah,
so, mate.
It was about the wine. So here's the thing. Let's have a look at this. Let's have a look at this before we get to the end, because I think we may as well talk about this because it's a real life experience. So should we disqualify Cam for putting the bottle in late?
Cam, I ask you a simple question.
Yes.
If it was one of us three, what would your answer be?
It's not the first time I've put a bottle in after 12 p.m. So as long as it's in on the day, I'd probably letting it slide.
That's not what the question was. If it was one of us three, what would your answer be?
If it was in on the day, yes, I'd let you go.
Oh.
But I'm not asking to be let go. I'm not asking to be let go. Mate, if you want to, Thomas only knows. Here's the thing. Thomas only knows because I told him, right? Thomas doesn't know. And if there's been other...
I would say I will let it pass this time. But what are you saying, Chris?
Oh, I don't believe
Shoe's got to be on the same foot.
The shoe was on the other foot, we would be...
I think, yeah. Look, if you'd put the wine in today, I wouldn't give you a hope in hell. I'd be smashing you to pieces. But I know, because I'm also...
I personally believe
my integrity, Thomas talks about integrity. I know that actually most weeks, my wine isn't in by 12 p.m. It might come in at 1 o'clock. It might come in at 12:36. It might be 2 o'clock. It comes in when I can get to the bottle shop generally on the day. So I wouldn't, you won't believe me, but I wouldn't sit here and go, you're fucking dead, because then I'd be going in the inside, you're a fraud, because I do it a lot.
Well,
And whether Thomas actually might already know that, I don't know. But Charlotte gets the photo when I get my wine. She knows what times they come in. I could be dobbed in every single week.
Yeah, but then is that a bigger issue? Because you live by the sword, you die by the sword. If we have a rule that it's in by 12 and everybody else goes to the effort to get it in,
that's
by
fine.
12.
That's why I lost the last round. I got disqualified just before Christmas. I got disqualified 3 out of 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Right? And that's...
I'm asking you guys, listen, I'm not asking Cam to defend himself. I'm asking you people to, as a friend, to make a decision about your position.
I don't think...
I as a friend, I had decided yesterday that, yes, I will make the call, because I understand he's running around busy and I bought. So I am that kind of friend that, no, sometimes you don't have to just do this. So what about you two?
No.
What do you mean? No? What do you mean? No means what? No means what?
What do you mean?
No means no. He doesn't get let off.
Yeah, and my point of view is exactly this. Sorry,
I brought a 2.1 wine and I'm not letting him off because otherwise I'm screwed. I know your points.
No, it's got nothing to
And
do-
you know what? Here's another point to integrity. I knew I was going to get disqualified and I still spent $85 on a bottle.
Rules are rules. And if we're playing a game of football, okay, and someone knocks
Bad
it off,
example, mate, because they get away with all
Listen,
sorts of shit.
I'll add this. Hang on, Lou. I'll add this. You know, in the defence, I think if you're going to play a game, you've got to give it your all. And
Yeah.
if a bottle scores under a 4, I think Cam is allowed in.
what?
Because you haven't tried the most.
Right now, okay. So right now we got it. I will announce the points very quickly. This week, Louise, your bottle scored 4.2.
Yeah.
Chris, your bottle scored 4.3. Cam, your bottle score. Your bottle scored 4.4. And my bottle scored 4.4. So I've won. The two of you, Chris and Lou, you are on equal, and Cam, you've been disqualified because you're late. However, Cam, I just got you to my side that under some circumstances, a friend should not tell a friend that he's doing the wrong thing.
No, it was wrong. You tell me, but you already told me I was wrong. You told me yesterday. I stood in front, don't worry, I stood in front of this $85 bottle of wine going, I've got 2 choices here. I'm 99% sure Thomas is going to dob me. Right? And I'm also 99% sure that after I have too many glasses of wine, I'm going to dob myself in. So do I spend $15 on a bottle and get just as drunk? Or do, in the spirit of the game, still spend the right money to get the right result? I just hope, and Charlotte, you'll listen to this, if anyone ever is 12:01, you have to fucking tell, because I guarantee you don't have your wine in by 12 every week. I guarantee it. I guarantee it's not in by 12 every week.
Dude, on my heart.
I was booked into five listing appointments on Tuesday. Good luck remembering to buy a bottle of wine. Five. Right? And then
Yeah,
I walk
Sunday. You had
out,
all
I'm
Sunday to
stumbling
do it.
across the car park
And
on Wednesday, run
exactly
down,
my point. I said I went
still
to
struggling with,
Sunday.
I went to the
still-
store and spent 2 hours on Sunday to make sure that I would not lose this round.
yeah, well, I only
I
get
had
one
my
day a
bottle
week,
3
mate.
weeks ago.
I don't get every weekend off like some. I only get one day a week, and I chose it to mow my lawn to get ready for the sale or the keeping of the house or the or whatever. I don't know what we're doing. Right? But as I dragged my weary body across the car park yesterday at 1 o'clock, dragged it because I'm still struggling in the aftermath of COVID, and I've done 12 listing appointments this week in 4 days, and dragged my body unfed, uncoffeed to get to the office in time to give Thomas's niece the send-off she deserved with another hold of Chardonnay, the Diamond Python. I remembered that shit, I haven't put my wine in. So as I crawled across the battlefield, bleeding with one leg and one arm, I went, you know what, some things in life are more important. And I went into the office instead of the bottle shop to look after Isoline and send her back to Belgium with a happy memory instead of having to deal with you palookas. We've just decided to.
Anyway, so right now, the way that we stand is simple. Chris, you've won one and drew one. I've won one and drew one. Both Lou and Cam have lost one. So it feels to me like we have 2 rounds left. Chris, you and I, we only have to draw next week. Where these two have
I'm bringing out the big guns next week. So
Oh, you got a big gun, is it? All right. Okay.
Didn't you, TL, in the interest of integrity, saying you've helped me none, didn't you say to me on the phone yesterday that we have to stop this shit about Chris ordering directly off Vivino? Wasn't that a comment that got made? He's buying wine from the umpire in this whole thing. There's nothing to see here, nothing sus.
Which, by the way, just want to let you know, I had the conversation. I had a conversation with Chris, and he's not doing all of them by that. So there's no problem. He's not doing all of them. All right. But as a friend, I didn't tell him exactly that he was doing it wrong, where you just did it again. So in public,
I'm sorry, but I think there's there's sort of notion of jealousy there that you didn't think of it yourself, son. Personally, I'm sorry. Don't hate the player. Hate the game, mate. I didn't set the rules.
Yeah, but now you're saying something, Chris. Is it possible that sometimes our friends are telling us something about us doing wrong or right or wrong because they've got an agenda of their own?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
100%.
Like a lot of people listening to this and they're going like, why are they talking about this? But this example of the bottle is about agenda, right? It's about agenda. I mean, I knew Louise's position. She had to just nail him.
Because all of Louise's friends would have told her, you're doing the right thing, Louise. That was the right thing. That poor family man works his ass off all day, every day to feed everybody, and he forgot a bottle of wine, and you should crucify him.
You know what? My position would have been the same whether I won or lost. I would have said the same thing because rules are rules, and some things, yeah, I understand what Thomas is saying, but you can't tell me if you turned up at a listing appointment an hour late, would you expect to get that listing? And
so you pull up to the emergency room, and the only spot you got your partner bleeding from a massive cut. He's going to bleed out in 2 minutes in his leg, and you have to pull into the disabled spot out the front of the emergency room. Rules are rules. You still deserve a fine there, right?
Yeah, well, absolutely, but it's worth a fine. If my partner's about to die, I wouldn't give a shit about a $200 fine.
So the parking inspector's actually standing there, watches you pull in, watches your partner's leg fall off. Rules are rules. He should still give you a fine, right?
Absolutely, book me because my partner's life's worth more than $200. But it's like any sport.
You haven't seen a parking fine for a while, have you? They're getting quite expensive.
I got 2 like a month ago.
I reckon if that actually happened, Lou, you'd rip off your stiletto and stab him in the eye with it just quietly.
No, I would not.
I think you would.
I would not. There's no way.
Yeah, we know you, Lou.
White female, single white female.
You'd break his leg.
You'd drop Steve-O. Steve-O's leg would be all right. You'd go, Steve, get in there. Here's your leg. Now I'm going to deal with this mother. And you'd be...
Not at all. Not at all.
That's exactly what you do. Don't forget where you.
No, it's not. It's not. It's not the case.
Yes, sir.
I agree with you. I think
I'm safe in the knowledge that all I've got to do is turn up the next 2 weeks on time and I'll beat Louise. So that's all I could bring. This bottle of water will score higher than what Louise brings. And that's been sitting here for 3 weeks. That's why it's got the residual dew bits on the top.
Louise, if at least with your rule and you're very firm on that, and I can see you're very fair and firm on this. And so thanks to your Cloudy Bay bottle, you still beat him with his Torbreck. So that's all there is to it. And which proves my point, Cam. You're very quick at going no, and now there's circumstantial stuff. You're fighting, you're betting on the other side. I'm sorry.
No, Lou told me I was doing the wrong thing.
You just showed double standards, mate.
No, I didn't.
We started the
You're talking shit. You're starting to sound like Louise.
No. If he's wrong, and these two are standing by exactly what they said about.
That's all right. No. So you haven't proved any point, mate. You're starting to sound like Louise.
Sorry, Louise. Did I prove a point?
Yeah.
Did I prove a point?
It doesn't. Louise told me what she thought I was doing was wrong.
No, just be quiet. Louise, did I put him in at the beginning of the podcast? Did I dub him in about his wife? He jumped in and did it himself. So I proved my point by saying I knew that my friend was doing it wrong, but I didn't say anything.
You were going to. Oh, yeah, hand on heart, you weren't going to say anything.
Did he have a double standard? Did he have a double standard?
I'm happy for you to tell me I was doing the wrong thing. I told everyone I was doing the wrong thing. The question was, you guys had to decide whether to punish me for doing the wrong thing. That's completely different. And as I said before, the problem.
This is exactly our podcast.
The problem is people reacting
as a friend that you were wrong.
That's okay. I admit but I'd already admitted I was wrong. I told you I was wrong.
I'm telling you that you're wrong, and you're trying to backfire to tell me that how dare I say I'm wrong and trying to use me.
No, you said I was wrong, but now the punishment, right? So I'm just going to remember the punishment because you've never made a mistake before in your life. I've
made freaking mistakes. Every day I make a mistake. But my point is, I'm telling you now as a friend that you're wrong, and you don't want to hear it.
No, I know I'm wrong.
But you're still firing back at me and trying to give me these bullshit.
No, I'm firing back at Thomas. Louise, I actually said Thomas was wrong.
No, you said.
You're ingrained. You got it ingrained in you. I said, Thomas, you're full of shit. You're starting to sound like
No. Ken, listen, you're wrong here now. Let's listen to Louise.
You said if my husband's leg was bleeding and rules are rules, that you wouldn't just park in there and you'd be happy standing there getting the fine off the parking inspector. Exactly my point. I would stand there and say, mate, here I am. This is me. Fine me. Give me 10 if you have to, because he's dying. I wouldn't care. I know the rules. I'm breaking the rules. I know I'm breaking the rules, but I'm prepared to wear the consequence of the rule because it means more to save a life than to bloody worry about a shitty ass fine. But what I'm saying,
buying you peasant's wine doesn't save anyone's life. I'm telling you.
No, mate. Louise made a very good point. Keep on going, Louise.
But it is wrong. It is wrong for me to sit here and say just because Thomas agrees that you should be let off and Chris is on the fence as he's always on the fence. It's wrong for me to sit here and not
Chris
say.
was not on the fence.
Don't drag Chris into it.
I'm on the fence.
He's giving me just as
Look at
much
the barbecue. Watching you idiots.
Chris, you were no, and then you started to pussyfoot around by saying, well, if it scores under here, maybe we'll let him in. No, rules are rules.
We've gone into a different realm, which is the consequences of telling someone they were wrong. The question was, should you tell them they were wrong, not the consequences of. I've already spoken about the consequences of in my personal life, where I didn't take it well, much like this, and didn't talk to people for years. And I can only hope I don't have to talk to you for the next 3 years.
Just want to let you know, the next week's podcast has been delayed to Friday, so just want to let you know.
Yeah, no, that's all right. Hang on.
I was going to ask about that.
Whether the podcast, hang on.
Fuck, you haven't stopped talking.
Just scream louder, Chris. Just scream louder.
Hang on.
No. You interrupted Louise.
It's more important.
Louise, you need to finish your point.
Finish,
It's
Louise.
more important.
Look at Chris.
I was actually hoping we were going to get something productive out of this podcast, which is one, people realizing that
Hey,
the people around them
the
aren't
thing is-
necessarily their friends, and two, the people who are telling you that you're an idiot probably are your real friends.
I personally believe that this podcast is one of our best because it happens with a real life
Scenario.
situation.
Exactly.
But it happens every day.
Right, so let Louise finish.
Mate, you take your life in your hands saying that. We know short
Well, we
sentence
finish
Louise.
at 8. We finish at 8.
Listen, I'm sick of this shit.
The
You
war
guys-
in the Ukraine will be over by the time she finishes.
Oh, fuck off. But listen,
Oh,
seriously, we're talking about a podcast in which is a friend really a friend if they don't tell you when you're wrong? And Cam, you did wrong, and
I did do wrong. I don't want to admit it.
Shut up. All I'm saying is I respect your integrity by throwing yourself under the bus before anybody else did. But it's like any other rule in any other game, any other team, everything else in life. There's rules. And when you break the rules, there's a consequence. So what example are we setting by letting you off the hook for breaking the rule? We're not
Just a
setting-
bit of understanding for being an underprivileged Aussie battler who's just trying to do his best. That's all. I don't.
from the Central Coast. Is
So,
that,
From the
so hold on, so Lou,
yeah.
you finish your point?
Well, yeah, my
Okay, all right. Then Cam, Lou is not your friend.
I am his friend.
Lou
He's thinking.
wasn't-
He's thinking.
No, no,
So
no.
Lou is not your friend.
No, well, see, Lou's happy to have other people tell you that you're wrong
No,
and then
no.
jump on the
I'm asking you a
bandwagon.
very
So
simple
maybe not.
question.
Fucking bullshit.
Lou,
That is
Lou,
crap,
Lou
man.
and her despicable behavior,
Mm.
right? By using very long lines to just make the guilt even more like a sword than a dagger, she is not your friend.
Potentially not.
Okay, so now let's listen to Chris.
Oh, yeah, come on, I only get 2 words. And old mate gets the whole teletext. The whole,
Mate, I'll keep
the
it
whole-
short, champion. I'll keep it short. I reckon you jumped on the grenade to take it away from Thomas's victory of him telling
I did,
everyone.
mate. I did.
So,
I got that.
mate, so I know that. I know that straight out, brother. So that's all good.
I can ruin a victory parade. Don't worry.
Mate, mate, I probably would have done the same thing. So that's fine. But you failed. Plan better. Sucked in.
If the bomb's going to go off, mate, you may as well make sure you're the one who pushes a button, eh? That's
All right, guys,
So,
let's keep on going on this line, which is a friend that doesn't tell you when you're wrong really a friend.
No, what I want people to realize is,
I personally believe it's also about timing.
I want people to realize, yeah, but some people aren't gifted with timing, right? Myself included. I really need people to take to heart that the people who are telling you everything you do is great and everything you do in life is awesome. And don't worry if you're fucked up there, and don't worry if you're fucked up here. And I'm swearing, but it's what happens in a pub, right? This is how people talk. Don't worry about it, mate. They don't know what they're talking about. It's like they never made a mistake. They're not your friends.
That's right. They're less of a friend.
The person who looks you in the face and says you're being an idiot,
Yeah.
that's your friend. And as
Yeah.
much as it hurts and as much as you're not going to like it, and that's why guys end up in blues, often by the end of that fight, they're the best of mates ever, because you realize, now I'm so dirty on myself for not realizing until 2 minutes. I had a lot of growing up to do, like I said, that these people were actually my mates, because then I'd have more than my wife, right? Thomas is not a mate. He
Yeah.
just pretends, right? But it's all for the camera. It's all for show.
I don't need to even prove my point. He keeps on going. Come on, man, keep going again.
No,
You're
that's
on the
what I
roll,
want.
man. You're on the roll, man.
You're 100%.
That's what I want people to realize.
You
For
are.
everyone that I've ever said, you're being an idiot or I think you're doing it wrong, know that that's what you need in your life, and not everyone going, no, everything's cool and everything's right and you're just great. Too many people are still friends with their people from high school because they make them feel good. It's not possible when you all grow in different directions and at different levels. It's actually not humanly possible. And too many people are uncomfortable with that. Too many people are so uncomfortable with somebody challenging them that they're never going to go where they need to be or understand where they need to be at. There's too many, really touchy subject, right? But when we talk about how where's a friend come into it. I had an instance once when I was a young bloke where I found out that a girl was getting beaten by her partner. And they weren't friends, but they were people I drink down the pub with. And I watched 20 guys who know this guy a lot better than me who got told at exactly the same time. The girl's walked in with a black eye. She's told us what's happened. I watched 20 guys say absolutely nothing about it to the guy. So I walked over and I king hit him. And I made sure he knew that if he ever touched her again, there'd be a problem. There's 20 guys sitting around letting it be okay for this guy to beat his wife. And this guy's sitting there thinking he's got 20 friends in the pub.
Yeah.
Right. That's where it gets, that's serious. And that's the nth degree.
Absolutely.
I was 18 when that happened. And I still remember it like it was yesterday, but that's the problem we have in the world. Okay. It's not weak to speak, right? Well, it has been weak to speak for a long time. We do the white ribbon stuff, but you could almost guarantee that every bloke who's ever raised his hand to a woman, there's someone who knew about it who did nothing about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whether it's her friends, right? Because most women will speak.
Yeah.
Or his friends because he's either bragged about it or they know what's going on. And here's the fucking problem in the world. Are you a friend? The question we all need to ask ourselves is, are you a friend or are you not? Not are they your friend or are they not? Are you a friend or not?
Yeah.
Well, look, when it comes to your friends, I think it's those people that you value and you value their opinion.
Yeah.
And it's those people that you can say what you're thinking. Cam, you said yourself you weren't friends with that guy, that it was more of an acquaintance, right?
It was a bloke that was having a beer at the same table as me at the pub. But
okay. So let's say hypothetically it was a good mate that was happening. It would have been a totally different response from you, right? But you still would have done something. It would have been a king hit.
Probably wouldn't have gone straight to violence, but not acceptable, right?
Right, 100% agree. What I'm getting at is a friendship is someone that you value the person, you value their opinion, right? And Thomas, you said everyone's got an agenda. Everyone has an agenda, but sometimes that agenda is for the friendship. Sometimes that agenda is to help you and the love for the person that they're dealing with, right? So everyone has agenda with whatever they're doing, whether it's a selfish or a generous agenda.
Yeah.
But I think at the end of the day, majority of people are scared of conflict, and we've mentioned this before. And because we're scared of conflict, we won't say what we need to say to the people that we need to say it to. And your timing and your ability to be able to say that,
yes,
your ability to sell it, your ability to say, mate, we need to have a chat. I think that comes down with experience, life experience, and whether it may be.
Do you know what I think it comes down to more so, Chris? Character and integrity of the person. Like exactly what we're saying here. There's certain situations where we all know, like in that example that Cam just gave, I don't think any of us would hesitate in pulling up the person and saying, hey, that's wrong.
Heaps of people do, mate. That's what
happens. I know, Cam, but there's some situations where, like I think Thomas said earlier in the podcast, if it's somebody that's wrong about a statistic or something that's not going to harm anybody, sometimes you don't need to correct them. Sometimes you have...
I agree with you, Louise. I agree with you. You're absolutely right when you just...
His head's about to fall off.
Yeah, you look like one of those dogs on the dashboard.
Question for Chris and Thomas, then. You both mentioned timing now and delivery. So I know, right, I don't have the best delivery and I don't have the best timing and I definitely don't have the best delivery, right? But so what, I'm supposed to say nothing until I do?
No, it doesn't, mate. It comes with experience, mate. That's what it does.
No, but I'm nearly 40, mate. There's enough experience so it's not going to happen. So
when I was younger on a building site, if I had an issue, it was like you said, let's go have a punch up in the car park and then sort it out there and then we'll be best of friends later. Mate, I've done that. It does come with experience. And from 40 to 50, it was a huge growth for me. Even now, from 49 to 50, 51, it's a huge growth and sort of learning curve. It does come with experience. But I think, mate, you wear your heart in your sleeve, Cam, and I think that's one of the things I love about you, mate, is that you speak your mind, and you're one person that I know out of very, very few that's not scared of conflict.
Yeah.
I wasn't asking for me, but I think the message Thomas tried to send earlier, and you were just touching on, Chris, was that the timing of it's important. So what I'm asking is, it's not the right time to tell this guy he shouldn't punch his missus in the eye, right? So I don't say.
You need to make it.
There is no right time.
No. What I'm saying is timing is you don't sit at a dinner table full of his family and go, mate, you shouldn't be punching your missus in the head.
Yeah.
You
I
say
reckon that's the best
we need
place to do
catch up. Rightio, but okay, so that's not the best timing. But I think you make a time and you go out of your way to say, mate, we need to meet up. We need to have a chat.
I think, but for people who go, when is the right time? Because that's a horrible chat, right? You're better off saying it than never saying it all because you can't find the right time. We've all had even in a staff sense. Have we all had people we wanted to let go, but we're like, oh, today's not a good day to do it, and today's not a good day to do it, and there's not a good day to do it.
No.
Timing can't be, you can't sacrifice the message for timing, I don't believe.
There's always good timing. Anyone who says there's no bad timing are actually not really your friends, because what they do is that they're looking for convenience rather than thinking about what's the best timing.
I wish you'd look for timing.
I'll give you a very good example. I mean, since my niece, and you know her very well, you've met her a few times, Cam. Since my niece been here, I lost the usage of my left hand. She burned.
I've got a story to tell you about that.
By putting metal into the microwave, and I held it, and it burned the crap out of one of my hands. And I mean, it's recovered mostly because I had a lot of Sensodyne on my hand for now.
Feels like he's cheating on himself.
2 days ago, we almost lost our dog because she left the front door open because we told her what to do with the front door, and she did her best, and she didn't really close it. So Rolex just ran out. And 20 minutes later, Veronique and I are driving around the street looking for the dog.
Oh my God.
But we didn't tell her straight away because I think Veronique even didn't want to tell her because it's okay. Sometimes you don't have to make a big deal. There's been a lot of stuff up, and so much stuff up that if you put one more, you just drive this person to the abyss. And sometimes it is okay to just not tell the person. All you have to do is to tell the person in different ways later on. Hey, listen, when you lock this door, make sure you hear the click.
Yes.
And am I getting the two of you agreeing with that? Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely.
So sometimes.
Careful, kids. Careful. I see what he's doing.
Yeah.
So sometimes it is okay.
That takes wisdom, Thomas. So for someone with no wisdom, that's what I'm getting at. We're saying, timing's got to be vital.
Yeah,
and
stop bullshitting yourself, mate. You've got wisdom. I'm sorry, man. Stop. I'm going to be a true friend. You've got wisdom. You're one of the smartest guys.
I'm not saying I don't. It's not about me. I'm talking about the message we're sending out.
I think what we're saying.
I've got the ability at any point to stop and think. I just don't. Right? That's one of my beautiful things.
Veronique from the audience is just ask us a very good question, which is a question I was going to ask you. How many of us have told our friends the real thing and lost the friendship? And then afterwards, like a battered dog, you go, I don't want to lose that friendship again. I don't want to tell them.
Yeah. And I think
I just keep going back for more.
No, I'm not asking you. Louise is agreeing with me.
He's found a friend. He's found a real friend. They're both going to pat each other on the back and go, you did really well. Louise is going to tell Thomas he's got a great haircut. That's what she's going to do. She's going to be like...
What I'm trying to say is it doesn't matter what position. You can always argue any position.
I've got a story about the microwave, Thomas.
No, Louise was speaking.
What I was going to say, what we touched on earlier as well is, and what I was about to say, and we
just say it
on a tangent, but sometimes you don't always have to tell somebody when they're wrong, but sometimes, like with Veronique's question, sometimes we've corrected a friend, but sometimes it's been out of our own ego, and not necessarily the right thing for them. And so that's where we've got to be very careful. Not everything requires, not every situation. And obviously serious ones where someone's hitting their wife or whatever, those things need like immediate action. But there's things like you just can time it 2 or 3 weeks later. I just want to share a quote that Bruce sent me. He just said, we cannot force someone to hear a message they are not ready to receive, but we must never underestimate the power of planting a seed. And I thought
That's my point.
The power of what?
Planting a seed.
We cannot force someone to hear a message they are not ready to receive, but we must never underestimate the power of planting a seed.
That's my point. If you've got to err on do I or don't
That
I,
dude is a wise Jedi.
you got to always say a little bit about this microwave. So Iseline came to the office yesterday and we were feeding Chardonnay, the beautiful diamond python, and to feed Chardonnay, the beautiful diamond python, we have to thaw out a rat.
So you actually have a python in the office? Or?
Yes, we do. Yeah, she's gorgeous. She's just shed. She's about 6'8".
Like this long.
Yeah. Anyway, so we go. I bring out the rats out of the freezer and I'm tapping them to show that they're frozen and hard, and then I showed her that I put it in a bowl and put it under a tap of hot water. That's how I thaw out the rats. And she looked at me and she goes, "Oh, so no microwave," and then winked. She knows, TL. She knows exactly what happened. She knows. And I thought that was beautiful because the poor girl must have felt horrible that she burnt your other mistress. And she said, "So no microwave," and winked. No. I'm ambidextrous, baby, so every day's a party in the lesson, I thought. But no, I thought that was good. And I think Bruce is quite agrees with me. Better to say something and say nothing at all. But say nothing at all.
Chris is a perfect example of, listen, Cam, you and I, our audience has said it many times. You and I, we have too much of male energy. Like, you've got the stupid male energy, which is like you say things and you think after. I think first and I say, which is still male energy.
Toxic masculinity.
Chris has got the feminine energy. He knows when you tell you certain things. He doesn't have to tell you straight away.
So he's got the female energy where he won't always say it to your face, but he'll say it.
It doesn't mean that he doesn't think that. You know, like last week, he said to us afterwards, you know, "Hey, listen, I got your point, guys, but I also was there to really make sure that, you know, Louise didn't think that I was not in her team." And it's the same thing. It's about you. Sometimes you know someone's doing the wrong thing.
You did say that, Chris. You did say you didn't agree with anything you said last week, and that it was all for show. So, and that Louise is a stark raving lunatic. And
replay the tape.
Chris has got two beautiful children, and I've known them now since Langkawi for a lot of things. And I can guarantee you there were many times when I could see he needed to tell them certain things, but he wouldn't. And he would just delay it. And he would just put some kind of curtains over some of the action because he knew, no, it's not the right timing.
But did you tell them eventually?
I think, guys,
the point is, if you never say anything, you're not their friend. That's the point. Yes, there's timing. No one's disagreeing with there being timing. But I think if you had the choice of, I have to absolutely wait to the right time or say nothing, you have to speak. We're not all blessed with timing.
Absolute, man. We don't live in the world of absolute.
No, that's what I mean. So say it just in case.
I think too, guys, just thinking about this a little bit more and
don't hurt yourself.
Just say it. Say it, Luke.
Cameron, shut up. But no, seriously, guys, on a serious note, look at it like this. It doesn't matter how intelligent you are, whether that be knowledge-wise or emotionally intelligent. Whenever you're accused of being wrong or you're told you're being wrong, you automatically become defensive about it. And I think what
happens, you, Lou.
Never. I think what happens is when the ego gets involved, it becomes more of a win-lose battle. And I think that's where we go wrong, where some people focus, I don't know where I'm going with this, but what I'm saying is,
so standard. I was thinking sort of like if you think about
right to elevate their position, but really it's not, when you're not coming from a place of like goodness or like the right thing. I think that's where we go wrong as well. Like some people will tell you that you're wrong just to elevate their position and feel like they've won. Do you know what I'm saying?
I think sometimes that's a matter of opinion. We can't mistake right and wrong for opinion.
Exactly. There is no right and wrong.
I think I think one of the biggest issues, and we've spoken about this previously, is the fact that so many people believe that everyone's got to have the same opinion. We can't have different opinions and still be friends.
I
can have.
Yeah, I had a conversation with someone a couple of days ago who he was quite upset that someone had rang him and told him that he was wrong, right? And he wasn't happy with the way it went down, and he didn't agree with anything that was said. And having known having known both people for a long time, I knew it was a little from column A and a little from column B. And what I said to the guy on the phone to me was, look, only you know deep down inside your gut whether everything the guy said was wrong, or that you're just getting defensive and not willing to admit that you might need to improve.
Yes.
And that's the point that
exactly, Cam.
That's the point that comes out of it, right? That the true friend is telling you you're wrong for a reason.
That's right.
For a real reason, though. So and then you can't. What are you waving your hands in the air?
I'm listening. I'm just trying to sign language.
The
He's
information.
trying to stop me, right?
No.
Because he knows I'm right. The true friend is rang to tell you you're wrong for a reason, and it's up to you to sit there and decipher that reason, honestly.
But there is,
and without ego, if you can. Because it always says, who told you a dickhead? I'm not a dickhead. Look at me, I'm gorgeous.
There is a maturity issue. It's like when you sit down with a kid and you tell him violence is going to get you in jail, man.
Yeah.
You're going to end up in jail with violence. But you know he's a kid. You don't say it. Because you know saying it is not going to end up well for the kid.
This comes to delivery,
but you still tell him not to hit people, right? You have to have, no, that's not true. You have to have the ability to just paint a different picture. You have to drive a different picture. So you're not telling him, because if you tell him and that is his only response, then you're really depriving him of his response. But by painting a different picture, you're still telling him, Thomas.
You have to teach him different ways.
But it's still telling him.
But here's my next question. Here's my next question for you.
Wrong.
Why then is it that a salesperson hears the truth from his or her leaders and then resign?
Yeah.
So doesn't that make it that my point is the right point, that sometimes the truth does hurt, and you have to, even if your friend, and Cam said earlier, like his colleagues are his friends. So isn't it right that sometimes it is up to you, who has a solution, to really look for not only the timing, but sometimes you just have to shut up because they're not ready. It's not even the timing. They're not ready.
You don't paint a different picture. You just said it. You got to paint a different picture, which is still telling him. You don't get to get out of it by going, I painted a different picture. I said you don't have to. I'm an artist. I can paint a different picture. You don't have to. You're still telling them.
How many times have we heard the story of the same person being told the same thing by the same person over and over, and then they hear the same story from someone else that they maybe value their opinion a little bit more, and it's delivered differently, and the message sinks in.
Yeah. I
know the story of a guy who's got someone going to talk to 4 different agents just to find out that what the real agent said was 100% right. So it happens all the time.
Yeah. No, but I think also
don't bring that in, because I'm telling you, the longest corridor from your bedroom to the other one is from Langford Drive to Foster's Road.
Okay. No, but I think how many times in our own lives.
You may need. Hey, listen, I sent you an umbrella.
It'll be good for my health.
But in our own lives too. In our own lives, how many situations have we had in our own lives where people have told you that you're making a wrong decision or you're doing the wrong thing? And like, I use myself as a perfect example, having kids young. Everybody told me, you've thrown your life away, you'll never make anything of yourself, you're wrong to do this, this is stupid, you'll never amount to anything. And it also did was fuel my fire, because I'm so pig-headed and stubborn. When someone tells me I can't do something, I'll do the opposite, and I think it's
but that's stupidity, right? So once here's a difference. Here's a difference. Not you, Lou.
You're not answering my questions.
I'm about to go into your back. I'm going to back Lou up.
How many leaders can't say how many leaders are not saying to their salesperson, you are being stupid, you're robbing your family from the income that they should really
because they're scared they're going to quit.
Yeah.
because they're scared that that person next call is to call the opposition because the grass is always green on the other side.
I reckon that's happening, but just let me back Lou up. Once
Yeah.
you've already had the kids, Lou,
Yeah.
it's a stupid comment telling you that you shouldn't have had kids, you've thrown your life away after you've had the child is a bit fucking redundant to all the morons that do that just quietly. So that's not a friend telling you you're doing something wrong. That's telling the Titanic you sunk 5 minutes after it sunk, right?
Yeah, but even like if we go deeper though, Cam, just with that, I had everybody in my family telling me I was making a mistake, I was doing the wrong thing, and la 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 la. And so,
Lou, how many real estate agents that own their own business and have quite a few staff told you
what?
that it was wrong?
No. Nobody.
So now I've backed you up, Lou. We can move on. All right. We don't want to pretend that we actually like each other here. So,
okay.
To Thomas's point, how many leaders don't tell their staff what they're actually thinking for fear they might quit? I think a shitload.
I think there's a lot, and I can put my hand up and say I was that leader at one point because I was scared shitless of what the repercussions would be if I actually told them the truth. But then I soon got over that when I realized that it's easier to tell the truth now than to deal with them leaving down the line when they're not succeeding because I'm not.
That's easier on you. So to be a friend to that person and to not tell them that they weren't going to succeed, are you being a real friend to that person or not?
No.
So Thomas agrees. I got him shaking his head. No, you agree. You weren't being a friend by not telling them.
No, but she did it. But she did it.
Stuffed up.
But she did it.
I did it because you know what?
Did it. Why? Why did you do it? That's the point.
Why did I do it? Because in the beginning, I was, instead of being a leader, I was being a friend. But what I didn't, I was scared. I was scared of telling them what they needed to hear.
You stuffed up, mate. Not you, Lou. Thomas.
Can you just not interrupt, Louise, please? It's symphony.
You're undigging the hole that Thomas just dug for himself. Stop it. Let him die.
No, but
Let him go.
Cam, I think if we're going to talk about like this situation, I think we need to be honest with ourselves and the public that, you know, we all make mistakes, and I made that mistake of being too close and considering everybody a friend, but what I needed to be was a leader and still tell them the same thing and be their friend also. If that makes sense. I guess
I think we don't tell people. I think we don't tell people their work performance isn't up to standard because they're scared to quit, not because we're not friends or because we are friends. That's not a friend. That's not a friend relationship. That's a business decision you've made, right? That's a business decision. Now, if you see a staff member going down a bad path, you sense there might be an issue. They're turning up late. They're doing whatever, and it's something external, and you don't say anything about that, then you're not being a friend. All right. The decision to not tell someone they need to lift their game because they might quit is a business decision. That's not a friend decision.
Right. That's exactly right. I don't disagree with you at all. And my business acumen at that point and my ability to lead a team was.
Yeah, I'm not arguing with you, Lou. I'm arguing with Thomas because I think he's full of shit on this one.
I know you are.
I agree with you on this. I just think Thomas is full of shit. I know what side of the fence Thomas wants to be on. He's just trying to make a show of it.
Well, right now, I just got 2 out of 3. Okay, I just have to focus on Chris now. Right?
You haven't got
Chris. No, actually, I had Chris earlier. Chris knows, and this is why Chris has got 2 amazing kids. Chris knows many times when his kids are doing the wrong thing. He doesn't tell them.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, and sometimes he doesn't tell them at all, even though he knows they're doing the wrong thing.
Yes, he does.
I tell them.
Don't put words in his mouth, you bastard.
No. Sometimes he doesn't tell them at all because he knows. Sometimes,
Chris, don't you fault.
the lessons learned in blood, like my son says.
Don't let him put words in your mouth, Danola.
So sometimes
the reason your kids don't step out of line
don't
is
lie now,
you
Chris, because don't lie now. It's bad karma, man.
We all know the real reason your kids don't.
Sometimes the kids need to learn. They need to learn the lesson themselves. Absolutely, they need to learn.
Don't you? Don't let him put words in your mouth.
Hold on. Shut up, you. I'm not talking to you.
However, majority of the time, I will step in and I will guide them to making the right decision.
This is like I consider myself a friend of Thomas, and I've never seen him not tell his kids what he's thinking ever. And I reckon if they were watching the podcast, they'd agree with me. Ever, not
No, it's not
ever.
true. My
Ever.
kids have seen it. My kids have
Ever,
seen it.
ever.
No. Sometimes I've seen them doing
Ever.
something. Like yesterday, we were playing tennis at 8:30. It was raining, and they thought we're going to sleep and we're going to have to stop. And I thought, okay, I won't say to them, mate, you don't know the day you're going to play tennis. It's going to be raining, right? At least you know how to slide in the rain.
Yeah, but now you've just said it. So
But
ever.
I didn't say it. I did say it. I
Now,
said
not only have you not
something,
said it to their face,
okay,
you've
you're
done what
right,
every
let's
woman
stop.
does and said it behind their backs to everyone else who would listen, but not themselves, right? So congratulations. That's why you've been batting for Lou this whole
Listen,
podcast.
guys, it's a good thing. So let's have a bit of a closing here now. I can see it. All three of you are starting to really see my point, but really, what should a friend? I mean, is a friend that doesn't tell you when you're wrong really a friend, Ken?
No, they're not. And I think the opposite is also 1000% true. A friend who tells you that you're wrong when deep down you know you are, that's your real friend. And that's the assessment you need to make of your life at certain times. Who's in my circle and who is really in my circle and who isn't. And it's a lesson I had to learn the hard way. So, and I've lost a couple of people over it. So if someone tells you you're being an idiot, there's a reason for it.
So what you're saying is that sometimes you just
don't ruin my closing, all right? You give Lou 45.
What about you, Lou? What are you saying?
Me? I'm saying that depending on the circumstance and
okay, Chris, what are you saying?
You've jumped.
I got my
Don't let him into your
No,
head, Louise. Just
sorry,
say,
Lou.
no, you're not a friend.
I'm not jumping. I still agree with the bottom line principle that, a friend who's not telling you when you're wrong, I'd still agree that they're not really a friend, but I think it's dependent on the circumstance and like if it's shut up. If it's a serious nature, then yeah, it needs to happen straight away. But sometimes you don't need to correct them and tell them when they're wrong in that moment. So it doesn't mean you're not a friend. It just means that you're actually probably being more of a thoughtful friend and doing it at a time that you know it's not going to destroy them.
As a friend, I'm telling you that you didn't
Oh,
put
what
enough
Cameron just said, in 6 sentences, I said 5 words and you're all shaking your head. Like,
yeah, because you've jumped, your legs would be sore because you've just jumped the fence 6 times.
Oh,
You've just done the hurdles in the decathlon at the Olympics.
Ever think that you guys just don't understand?
Oh, yeah, good. Go and talk to your friends about it when we're not around to listen.
Chris, say something, please.
It's real simple. A true friend lets you know when you're wrong or doing something wrong and is there to help you correct it. It's simple.
Very good. All right, then I have the closing line.
Funny how that works, yeah.
I do not disagree with what my 3 learned friends have said.
Learned friends.
But I think that as a true friend, it is your responsibility to really read the situation and know whether it's the right time and whether it's the right thing to do. It is your responsibility because it's too easy to say, well, whatever comes through my mind, I just have to say it. That's what kids do. There's no filters. They just say whatever comes through their mind. As adults, we sit down, look at circumstances, look at whether the position or the point in time is the right time, and we make up our mind whether we should say it now, tomorrow, or never. And I think that is the point of maturity, is the ability to think further than the ramification of saying something right now, then to make that first point. And seeing the nod of Chris and Louise, I have now concurred that I will now say that all 3 have joined my ranks.
You disagree with us, you idiot.
Hey?
Yes, you have to say something, but the timing needs to be right. You disagree with us.
So Thomas, I'm going to speak for all 3 of us here. You are wrong, and as friends, we're telling you you're wrong.
You are wrong. You are very wrong, Mr. Wang.
I thank you. And I thank you very much, Chris, for supporting my point at the last minute. I thank you very much, the public, for being around. We talk soon. See you next week. Actually, not next
Hey,
week.
guys.
On Thursday, it will be moved to Friday.
Friday.
We have a conference on Thursday. All right. So those followers of ours, those skeleton followers of ours,
Yeah.
we'll see you on Friday.
Friday.
4 people are going to be very upset.